Oh, welcome to the big show. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Any of you miss sports on ESPN? Raise your hand. That would be me. I would also say that this weekend, before I introduce you to this week's agenda, I resorted to encouraging chickens. So my in-laws just bought chickens and ducks, and instead of watching sports on TV, we decided to cheer on and pick favorites of which chicken or duck would come away with the worm in the pile, so to speak. So there's like 2 ducks, 6 chickens, and we all picked our own little chicken or duck, and we cheered on which one we thought was going to win. So that was my weekend, pretty much. Kind of fun, different, weird, but we are in quarantine 2020. So with that being said, welcome to May 6th, 2020. You're listening to the message from me, and this week we'll dive into our slides for Quarantine School May 6th. As we jump into this, very interesting stuff this week, and pretty positive for the most part. So apologize, it's like my 3rd time doing it. Didn't realize my mic was not working earlier. And so I was just talking to myself this week. I have made a reoccurring Zoom meeting each week. So actually, if you save these links, these will actually be the meeting links for the rest of the year. We're going to go every Wednesday, morning periods at 2, afternoon periods at 2:30. And if you can't make one or the other, please feel free to join the 2 p.m. or 2:30 p.m. This week, family had a little outdoor experience. Going back to my childhood, one of my favorite places, we used to fish off this bridge. This is actually on our property. It's actually between 2 fields in my parents' farm. This is Old Woman's Creek, or what flows into Old Woman's Creek, which flows into Old Man's Creek, which flows into the Iowa River, which flows into the Mississippi, and then down into the Gulf of Mexico. So it's kind of cool to see some of these tributaries being started on my parents' land, which is pretty interesting. I've ridden a boat in all of these all the way to the Iowa River, so it's kind of cool in my experience to know how my parents and their stewardship kind of goes into stewardship of the water and the land in Iowa. So it's kind of cool. So this is Bowen, Colton, Addie, and Gavin. So we had a pretty fun time. They like to throw sticks over on this side, watch them go underneath, and then over a little tiny waterfall. And the cool thing is there's little creek chubs on one side. They're fish about probably like 3 to 4 to 6 inches long, kind of like a big minnow. And they actually do very well in small streams like this, and they actually jump up the water, kind of like salmon do, to get back to their breeding grounds or whatever. So the kids really have a good time looking at that. So that's my weekly review with Mr. Mead. Remember, grading policies, any new material that we give you this week will not be mandatory. You've already passed on to be OCHOs or 8th graders for next year. Concept review this week is human impact and the effects that humans have on land, plants, and all the animals around us. And, are there positive human impacts on the earth? Absolutely. I think we do that every single day. When you recycle, I think when you use less water, when you choose to walk instead of riding the car, we have positive human impacts. I think, planting trees, green spaces, local buying, instead of outsourcing. Those are all great things that we do on a daily basis to make sure that our environment is more healthy. Now, what have those impacts been during COVID? The interesting studies that are coming back are all positive. So as crappy as this whole deal is, as much as we're staying in and not moving about, not flying, not going on boats, trains, not using our automobiles as much, and using social distancing, we're actually creating positive impacts on the environment itself. So, tracking the nitrogen dioxide readings and the pollution readings across the globe, it has all been positive. All right, so that's pretty sweet. That also tells us that people around the globe are doing things correctly. This image is from China, from before February, and this is after the lockdown. I mean, you see almost China they're pretty strict, right? We know that from their governmental body, but they pretty much told people if they left their houses, they're going to beat them with sticks, right? So people didn't go anywhere. The economy was shut down. Nobody did anything. Groceries are brought to their door. So you see literally no air pollution in density matter after the lockdown, which I find amazing. And then just across the globe, air pollution in the UK, across the Atlantic, I should say, from 2020 at this time to 2019, a year ago, we are well below the average of what was happening there. This is a look at our eastern coast in the Carolinas. Pretty impressive, right? Air pollution, March 15th to April 15th, 2015 to 2019 averages on this side. So a lot of years of data. And then 1 year, March 15th to April 15th in 2020, you can see the vast difference. The darker reds and purples are more pollution. The blues and lighter yellows are less pollution. So we even see it in our own. To be a good global studies teacher, I think we need to look at that as well. The coolest things are just images. People taking pictures like, I didn't know the mountains were there, or I never saw that building before. Just some cool images between that as well. But as you see, this is the same picture. These are just examples of different cities. Which one did you want to live in by the eye test? On the left picture or the right picture? So I think we can do those images very easily as well. We live in a place too where we don't have a lot of air pollution. If you see an orange sun, you know that the farmers have been in the field. If you see an orange moon, we know the farmers have been in the field stirring up a lot of dust, but that's really about it. Wildlife in the streets is one of the more intriguing issues that I've come across throughout our studies, but the funny thing is that these animals are coming out of the higher, like the mountain ranges and out of the jungles and coming into the cities to kind of explore because there's less and less human impact, and they're less afraid because nobody's out in the streets. I think that's kind of an interesting thing. If we turned all of our animals loose in Iowa, they'd probably meander their way onto the streets as well. And then another cool thing, Venice, which is known for their canals, which are usually brown and murky and gross, are some of the clearest that they've seen ever. It's a city built on water, and people get around by water, and because people have been using it and polluting it, when we see like the cleanest canals we've seen ever in Venice. And then scientists are reporting some of the best sea turtle hatchings that we've ever seen. I know some of you have written your global issues essays on sea turtles and the impact of pollution on specifically sea turtles, and we saw a lot of stories this summer and this fall about impact of plastic on sea turtles. So to see that population increasing and having a great hatch this year is really, really imperative, and kind of cool that we're not disturbing it, right? Then make sure on this dashboard this week that we submit our optional assignments. Your two pieces of information for your videos are going to be your Sky News and your Earth Day impact of COVID-19 on animals. Those will be your two videos, and then your two articles are linked here. I'm sorry, the Bloomberg article does have quite a bit of like pop-ups and stuff. It's a really good article. It's got some good information. That's why I put it on there, but it is kind of annoying, and I know your Chromebooks, you might have a little bit of an issue doing that. So maybe if you have a pop-up blocker, it might help you a little bit more so on that issue. But your 4 questions for Canvas this week are going to be, I'm going to slide this thing down. Oops, I just clicked forward on accident. There we go. Alright, so 1, what are some of the environmental effects of human social distancing? What do these effects tell us about human impact on animals and the environment? How can studying the environmental impact of COVID-19 help people make decisions in the future? And then 4, if social distancing continues, what other environmental effects might happen? Right? I know you can't see that because my face is in the way, so there you go. And I'll discuss all this again with you tomorrow during the Zoom meeting if you choose to follow. And then stay informed, okay? Don't use crappy news sites. Do your diligence. If you're a Fox News watcher, watch other stations too to get your information. If you only watch CNN, I encourage you to watch Fox News. Find the opposing viewpoint of the articles and the information that are being distributed. Also, stay current on PBS, NPR, CDC, a lot of science-based resources. That's the best way to find good information. Cambridge does a really good job of keeping people informed. find well-affirmed and accredited doctors who are doing blog posts or YouTube posts. I found several on that, and it's pretty interesting. Just follow up for last week. One interesting thing is, what happens if we, jumpstart our economy too soon? There's a lot of things that could happen negatively that could impact us on a daily basis. So it's basically an inverse. If we open our economy too soon, too fast, more people are affected, get infected, and could possibly die. If we do it too slow, the inverse, the economy really tanks. More people lose their businesses and jobs, and more people are in poverty and probably die of suicide and income inequality. So there's a ton of things. It's like people have to survive, right? They have to work. And if you're not an essential worker right now and you're laid off, you want to get back to work, right? But there's that issue of, we make a lot of money if we start sooner, but if we don't put in certain restrictions, that can really affect more people. And so we see that economic impact as kind of an inverse in starting the economy right back up again, or putting restrictions in to make sure people are safe. Again, with Johns Hopkins, Cambridge, a lot of these institutes are covering this thing really, really well. We see our global curve down here, as I'll move my face again, not starting to flatten out quite yet, although we're anticipating some sort of flattening of the curve soon. U.S., million people infected, confirmed cases, I would say. Like in Iowa, over 10,000 people are confirmed. We have almost 4,000 recoveries, so that's about a third or a fourth, 40% of our cases have recovered. But then we still have close to 200 deaths. So that's in the next slide as well. But 70,000 deaths. Again, we talk about statistics, being able to compare that. 1.1 million cases, about so close to 70,000 deaths. Iowa has close to 10,000 cases. With, like I said, almost 4,000 recoveries and about 207 deaths. We're one of the fastest growing states to be infected, and largely due to, we supply a third of the nation's pork, almost a fourth, a third, and those people work in extremely close contact, and they've been mandated to stay open, so they have to take measures to be safer. I think just this last week, over 1,300 people in the state were confirmed with COVID, and they were all from Tyson's packing plant, which are the people who process our foods and put them into packages and put them in your Walmarts and Hy-Vees and Fairways of the world. So that's alarming. And if those places shut down, you're going to be limited in buying those. Those prices are going to go up because of supply and demand, and you're not going to get what you want when you want it. And if you do, it's going to cost you more. And that's what we're seeing. Like Hy-Vee just sent out information this week saying you can only buy 4 meat products before you leave the store. So, like if I buy a couple steaks and some hot dogs, that's it. That's all I can get. And so it's interesting that restrictions are being put on those already. And then last questions to kind of leave you with before I talk to you guys tomorrow at 2 o'clock, if you're seeing this for the first time on Wednesday. What is the overall lesson that people should take away from this pandemic, right? There's so many lessons in my head that I think about on a daily basis. I don't know if I could put those in your head, but, what are things that I could do better as a human being? What are things that I could do better as a society, as a citizen, And do I feel that our country will be weaker or stronger in 5 years? That's another one. Like as an adult, as a voting body, like you guys aren't 18 yet, but I think you're probably all thinking about, who do we want to put in charge and why would we want to put them there? I'm hoping in 5 years that we are an extremely strong nation because of this. Like we put in parameters and safeguards to not let this happen again, right? And if it does, that we have much better techniques in stopping the spread sooner. And so that we don't have to be in quarantine for 8, 10, 12, 15 weeks. That's my hope. But again, we'll answer a lot of these questions tomorrow. And think about this. I hope you view this video before I see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock or 2:30. And if you do have questions, ask them, right? We have a half an hour to kind of spitball some things. But the environmental impact is pretty cool. It's a really positive spin on kind of a crappy situation. So I hope that kind of brightened your mood and made you feel kind of better about what's going on. And maybe some of the decisions we're making are the right ones. So Hey, you guys have a great day. Love you. Miss you. Go Trojans.